satellite represents a journey, information gathering, this journey around the Earth. So yeah, we missed a couple weeks. It's been a bit.
Yeah.
I like our weekly cadence of talking.
Yeah. No, I really enjoy it too.
Like we've had some long gaps in our chats over the years, but this like weekly thing has been really fun.
It's fun, and while we were taking the break, I was thinking about how mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Did
you just say? Did you just say? Do you know mental health?
No. Here, let me explain.
That's a pretty big question.
No. It's like a new sort of I don't know, like sort of woke thing that you'll see in film and television, where people will it'll be like Ted Lasso, and they'll come up and they'll be like, "Are you okay? Are you?"
Yeah, it's like there's definitely like we've gone from stigmatizing therapy to like it being really trendy.
Which is healthy.
To talk about your attachment style and your childhood and stuff, and kind of like your trauma. Trauma is like become an almost overused word.
Yeah, like
arguably
Prince
overused
Harry
word.
was willing to like come out and cry on Oprah and talk about his mom.
I think
dying.
all of that is better than it being stigmatized. We may have overcorrected a little bit.
I agree. But one thing that I will say, because in the context of you were saying like it's really nice to have this weekly cadence, and in the context of certainly I've read that there's a big trend among men our age, like over 50, to sort of slowly, through attrition, lose their core friend group and become increasingly isolated.
Right.
And I can sense that happening to me since the pandemic. Like I feel like during the pandemic was like this weird trigger for me.
There's definitely like, I think men are not as good at having friends, making friends, keeping friends as women are for whatever reason. I think it starts in childhood. I think I just look at the way my daughter interacts with friends versus my son, and and they're different personalities. Like my son is much more introverted than my daughter, but like I was just seeing yesterday that girls, like when she's talking to her friends on, like they're going back to school next week, right? So she hasn't seen her friends all summer, but they have FaceTime and stuff now. So she's had a couple FaceTime calls, and she's like always starts to call, I miss you so much, right? Like boys would never say that to each other. You know what I mean?
It's true, yeah.
And I was just thinking like girls are just like society conditions them. Maybe it's a natural inclination. It's our nature versus famous. It's our regular nature versus nurture question. Like they're just better at saying what they feel, expressing what they feel out loud in words than boys are.
And even like, how through physical touch we generate oxytocin, and it can be like actually unhealthy to go for long periods of time without interaction. It's like, think of your teenagers, and think of how like my girls would have these, like, they would call it a cuddle puddle, where they would all kind of lie on the couch and sort of just overlap each other. They do. That's
what they call it. That's what they call it when you have an ecstasy party too, by the way. But anyway,
I haven't tried ecstasy, but I know that in high school our female friends would do that, where they would just kind of like lie on the grass and like lie on top of each other, and it wasn't
like women and girls are way more comfortable with just like sort of platonic physical contact.
Yeah, like we would punch each other in the arm, and that's how we would touch each other,
or like yank down somebody's pants or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like
or even in lacrosse, we would knock them to the ground with our shoulder.
Right.
It's like,
yeah, well, sure. But I'm thinking of like Bob's Crew. We'd be painting houses, and like if you're standing on a stepladder, like there was like a non-zero chance that some coworker, one of your buddies was going to hike your shorts down while you were up on a stepladder, right? So,
yeah, totally. And I don't have any experience with this other than I've read a few times that like there are parts of India and where the culture, it's almost illegal for a girl to go out without her uncle and her grandfather, like it's very conservative, and men walk around arm in arm or holding hands, and it's not considered like homophobic or phobic. It's not like a stigma.
And there are domains where it's interesting because there's this sort of like this I think we've veered into like the weird manosphere, like gatekeepers of masculinity thing where, there's all of these behaviors that are sort of like out of bounds if you're a man. Like you see lots of manosphere influencers that are like, if you drink your drink out of a straw, that's you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So like there's, but the physical contact, crying, like the things that have always been a little bit taboo for men, physical contact, platonic physical contact, American men, crying, expressing your emotions, crying. It's one of the things that's interesting is that you see like people who are unambiguously sort of like at this sort of near the top of the masculinity pyramid, if there is such a thing, like professional athletes is who I'm thinking of, right? I love it when I see professional athletes sort of like busting through those gates that are being gate kept by manosphere influencers, like because professional athletes will cry on the regular, right? Like they cry when something is like intense, right? Like, or when they're retiring, at the retirement ceremony, when they're leaving their sport after all those years, when they are expressing
saw it all over the World Cup, like at when
totally when they're expressing appreciation for a teammate, they'll tear up, right? and also so much physical contact in men's sports, right? Like celebrating a victory, they're hugging each other, like consoling each other. Like there's lots of physical contact that happens in the context of sports. And maybe that's the domain where men kind of can get that in a healthy way. But it's interesting to me because like I think on the one hand, all those manosphere dudes would point to sports as like there's masculinity right there. Like you should be an athlete and blah, 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 right? Like at the same time, like those actual elite athletes are doing all these things that the manosphere, guys would be like, never do that, right?
Yeah. Huh. I think
interesting.
What made me think of it is I saw, do you know this podcaster named Sean Ryan, who's like he's like a Joe Rogan.
He's like a MAGA dude that, or he was a Trump supporter
he's
for a while.
Very much the same path
Dude's
of Joe
a total
Rogan.
dipshit. Like when you, like I'm only saying that because it'll be, somebody he'll be talking to will be like, he'll be like, have you ever heard of, do you ever hear that saying by Benjamin Franklin? Blah, blah, and the guy and Sean Ryan will be like, who's Benjamin Franklin? You know what I mean? Like things that everybody knows, like he constantly is like, he has no clue. But anyway,
I suppose that he's actually highly intelligent only because he became a Navy SEAL, which is hard to do. And then,
I'm being totally unfair because there are many different kinds of intelligence, and clearly he's achieved a lot. He was a Navy SEAL, so he has certain kinds of intelligence that where he's at an elite level. So I will stop being a hater. But anyway,
yesterday he was just talking about he joined this thing called the GRS, which is like the Global Response thing. It's like basically like the U.S. has this elite CIA team that they hire, and they pay them $1 million a year. But they have to be like the best of the best of the best. And so he goes, it's 3 months long training or 3 months long vetting process. And I think he said there were 60 guys and they picked 6.
Wow.
And he said the thing that the thing he thought was really dumb was they heavily weighted their ability to shoot a pistol on the range at 25 meters. And he said, I just happen to be like very, very good at it. But like, that's not, there's like other ways that I'm not even that good at like other highly technical strategic things, And he's like, but I like, just because I could do that, like they picked me. And he was like, it sort of was weird. Like it seemed like if I were to go back to
maybe when they put a team together, it's like Ocean's 11, right? Like they need the guy that can do the pistol at 25 meters, but then they all, if they're heavily weighting that one thing, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that could be true. It's possible that one group was all being focused on the pistol.
They were like,
guy.
we need the pistol, we need the sharpshooter guys because we already got the hacker.
Right,
I'm thinking of like the stereotypical team, right? You always have the computer whiz. Because it's always like some blue-haired girl that gets like, it'll take me, okay, this is a double sub whatever encryption. This will take This will take days. Can you? We only have hours. Okay.
My favorite thing is when they say,
And then they're with their keyboard.
Very popular for the hacker to say, "Is there a cell phone in the room? I can hack into your computer from the cell phone in the room. Like, give me the number for that cell phone." And anyway, but so one of the things I think is funny about this manosphere thing is at the same time we're talking about, like, he's basically questioning, like, were they testing the right things?
Yeah.
And he goes, one of the things that doesn't make any sense is, like, at a time when you really need to be able to, like, fly a drone to kill someone on the battlefield.
Right.
Pete Hegseth is testing your testosterone level. And he's like, it literally makes, you could have, like, you could be a woman who's great at video games and you'd be the most lethal soldier, you know?
Right.
And so it's like, it seems like this
I mean, that's a really good point.
Kind of passing in the night, this, like, opportunity to really, like, if you want to be the most lethal, plus it just seems like less and less there's going to be face-to-face hand-to-hand combat, right? Like, less and less and less it's going to be that. It'll be drones, it'll be
for sure.
Autonomous
we're
vehicles.
seeing that for sure.
Anyways, it's an interesting kind of twist on this manosphere thing, is that the idea that, like, the ultimate manly man, it's like we're almost going through a place where we're back to the mental health thing. Like, you know, these elite Navy SEAL people are struggling. Like, I read last week there was an article, an NPR story about the guys that fly the Swift boats. They come in really quickly to grab you off the beach and come back out. And the boat banging on the waves is causing them to have
causing CTE,
terrible CTE, like the worst. Like, it's like they all have it. They're all committing suicide.
Oh, dude.
And so, and they're finding that if they're standing up and they think they're bending their knees, that actually the shock goes up the spine, and when it reaches the brainstem, it kind of gives a little whip. That each time it hits like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys are afraid to talk to the VA about it because they go to their personal doctor and say, I'm really suffering from, I can't remember things, and brain fog, I'm getting angry all the time. And so it's just an interesting time. It feels like
it's such a vicious circle, because it's like you have on the one hand men who are being subjected to things or just experiencing things that put them into mental health crises, and then men are like the most sort of like self-prohibitive from seeing therapy. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're the most sort of inclined to be thinking that therapy is a sort of like a showing weakness or whatever, or showing vulnerability, or even talking about your trauma is weakness on some level. And it's such a vicious circle, right? Like a vicious cycle. And
one of the things Sean Ryan said he does highly, he supports is the use of certainly research into psilocybin and alternative.
There's a lot of really good research into that for PTSD, and anxiety. Yeah.
One of our family friends, her brother is a psychologist. I think he's a psychologist at West Point. Like, he teaches at West Point. Yeah. And he said, I mean, he was telling us that when we were in Afghanistan for 20 years, we got to a point where you were 4 times more likely, having, been on the ground in Afghanistan taking fire. You were 4 times more likely to kill yourself when you got home than you were to be killed on the battlefield. Yeah. And he was saying, like, in terms of, like, who's winning, like, that we're losing on that when we come home. Yeah. It just seems like that was this whole, and then he said, so then he said the most effective, or at least as effective as some pharmaceutical interventions, like, was this thing where you formed a group of veterans, and then you had to sign a pact that said, before I kill myself, I will contact my buddy and tell them. And just having to do that would prevent so many people from committing suicide.
Wow. Yeah. So my last job, I worked on a product that was specifically geared toward helping veterans. So there was the client or partner we worked with at IBM, and they were developing this app called Grit. It was like something something in transition. It was about veterans in transition back to civilian life, and I forget what the GR stood for, but anyway, so our product was the sort of the therapy side of it. So it was assessments, mental health assessments, and then like when people in those assessments are identified as being at risk for PTSD or anxiety or things like that, then there were referrals to therapists and stuff, right? So that's kind of what our piece of this product was. But the other part of it that they had developed was called the Squad, and it was basically exactly what you just described. It was sort of like in this app for veterans, there were it was kind of trying to address every sort of like the main challenges that veterans face. So there was a whole sort of job seeking section, and there was like networking and sort of like a LinkedIn, but for veterans. So it was basically like veterans helping other veterans find civilian jobs. And then there was so they had this section called the Squad, which is basically what you described. It was like each person using the app would identify like 5 or 6 or 7 people, other veterans that were exactly for that reason. So it was like not just for that really severe, like I'm thinking of, I'm having suicidal thoughts kind of crisis, but like any kind of anything approaching that was like, oh, I have these people that are in my circle. I can quickly send a message to my Squad, is my circle of people. Anyway,
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
That whole set of stuff I worked on was one of the more rewarding things I've ever worked on. Yeah.
That's very cool. And is it still up and running?
We should just pause and say, Satellite Haiku. Welcome to Satellite Haiku.
Welcome to Satellite Haiku.
I'm Sean.
I'm Milo.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, that's good. But yeah, I was, and I guess one of the reasons I was thinking about it while we weren't staying in contact was my wife is going through a period where she's having to, like she's preparing to go visit her family who are visiting the U.S. for a week or so, and she needs to finish a bunch of experiments before she goes. So she's working really late into the night, like even last night, probably 1 a.m. or something, and but just day after day, really long days in the lab. And so I've been spending a lot of time alone, and I've been reluctant to reach out. I have a few local friends I could just reach out to, but I just sort of, at that point where you're like, I'll just go and I'll, watch some Apple TV show or something. And I started like even talking to myself a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, which scared me, not in like a psychotic way, but just sort of like.
No, I know what you mean. Like when my family left here to go to the Philippines, and I was here for almost, about 2.5, 3 weeks by myself. Like I was getting into that territory where I'm like, this is weird. Yeah.
Like I was just getting up off of like doing sit-ups and my workout, and my knees were aching, and I was like, oh man, there you go. It's going to be okay. Like I was just sort of like giving
I heard
myself...
a funny thing the other day that makes me think of that. It's like, it's Josh Johnson, the comedian, and he was talking about how he has social anxiety, and he was on a public transit or something, and he said something to a person. He like kept accidentally making eye contact with a stranger on the thing. And then he said out loud to the person, "I'm not staring at you." Right. But what he said next was really made me like, it was so relatable to what you're talking about. He was like, I said it so loud because he said, I said it too loud, which was awkward. And he said, because I hadn't talked out loud in a while. So like I didn't have a calibration of like my inside voice volume to my outside voice volume.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ever have that when you talk to yourself? Like I've gone to solo backpacking where I'm out in the woods, and I lose sense of how loud anything is. Like suddenly just the sound of the wind and the birds is almost like deafening, and I have to like recalibrate my hearing. I'm like, I don't know how loud that actually is, so I have to say something. I have to hear my own voice.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I had read years ago, there was a guy, a psychiatrist at Harvard that was studying solitary confinement. And there was an 18-year-old boy who had done something where he's in solitary confinement. So he was willing to sign up for this study and to just basically like, document what he was going through. And it was surprising how quickly he started to hallucinate.
Yeah.
Like the guy was basically saying, when you wake up in the morning, you go through this process, you use like where you are to sort of even the sound of your voice against the wall, it resets like who you are. What is the world
You
like?
anchor yourself to the world
Into
somehow.
a material world that you during
to physical reality. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you're on that hiking trip, just not having another person or sound of a car, the things that are make up your daily life must be so it's trippy, right? It's trippy and that's partly why we go, because it's beautiful to shift our experience,
But go back to your so just like that solitude, and you were starting to talk to yourself, and was there more that you wanted to say about that and like connections to people or
like I feel like and the other thing that happened recently about 12 days ago is my wife had a really bad accident at the lab, and she was struck in the face by an exploding thing. And so we spent like 7.5 hours in the ER before, and then I called around to other ERs and found one that was empty. We went down there at like 3 a.m, and she's fine. But what kept coming up for me, and maybe the theme of what I wanted to talk about, is this a struggle between the reality and really admitting that you're, grieving or struggling versus that practice of the gratitude list. Because I kept saying to try to help her, I'd be like, wow, the way the thing hit you, if it had hit you in the eye, you'd be wearing a patch. And she'd be like, I know, I won the lottery. But then we would laugh because we'd be like, I got punched in the, when we were at the dentist, I said, it was like you were in a bar fight and someone hit you with the haymaker in the side of your face. Like you're almost knocked out your teeth, and and the dentist was like, that's exactly what this was. It was like you were struck in the side of the face, like by a fist, like full on, by a big burly guy. And so we kept practicing the gratitude list. But then there's a point at which you sort of just want to say, like, you want to like just scream like, oh my God, like it's not,
no, that's
so
great.
hard.
That's totally true. Like you need to have, like, the gratitude is helpful, but also acknowledging like the acceptance side of it too, like the acknowledgement of the current reality. Because there's a point where gratitude starts to feel like denial.
Right. It can
that's
be.
Kind of what that's kind of what you're alluding to, right?
Yeah. Or avoidance, like the avoidance.
That's a better word.
It's like an avoidance of the feelings of like, oh my God, that was so scary. And then looking at my life. And so there's part of me that is, if I think about like this sort of feeling alone, and it's easy for me to go through and be like, I'm physically healthy. I have plenty of financial resources. I'm nervous about a lot of things. I have anxiety, but they're all things that are like levels away from my daily reality. Like
right.
And I don't have many responsibilities. Like I have grandkids, but I don't. So I feel like as an artist, I feel very. It's not that I'm blocked. It's that I feel a little bit. We talked about, was it Albert Camus, who after World War II, God is dead thing. That feeling of like.
I thought that was Nietzsche, but yeah. Anyway,
really, he wrote the book. The one about sort of that feeling of like, how do you find meaning in life? Like,
That was Camus. Well, anyway, there were the group of existentialists.
Existential crisis. Like, I feel like I'm having this existential crisis where constantly with me, one of the voices is that even worth doing? Does that really matter?
Yeah. No, I have that all the time. We've talked about that. And it's like, I mean, I have that a lot. So, this is a weird context for that feeling, but one of the places where it pops up for me quite a bit, because we've talked about making like short videos or whatever, like working on stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I watched a guy, like you'll see a dude on TikTok who does a funny little 3-minute video, and it's pretty funny, right?
Yeah.
But then I'll examine it a little more, and I'm like, shit, he bought that outfit just to make that 3-minute video, and he built a set for that 3-minute video. You know what I mean?
And he edited it, and there's
scripting and editing, and it's like he probably spent like 600 hours making that 3-minute video. Or maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's like there's so many moments where I have an idea and I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny. But it's hard to me to imagine like taking that pretty funny and investing that much time and effort into something that's pretty funny. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like there's a part of me that goes, how does that guy cross that bridge from like, because he obviously didn't get stopped by that feeling.
Yeah.
So how did he go from, oh, that's pretty funny, to like, all right, I'm at the Goodwill store looking for things to buy to wear in my funny idea video, right? Because it wasn't brilliant.
Right.
Like I'll forget it. I don't even remember it, obviously, right? Like, and I'll see 7 of those in the course of a week, or 10 or 15, right? And I don't remember who that person is or what they did or why or anything about it necessarily. So like it doesn't have any impact on the world really. And maybe he's making a little bit of an income off it because it builds an audience, or like but it's exactly what you're talking about. Because like I'll have a seed of an equivalent idea where I go, oh, that would be pretty funny. But like it takes so much to go from that idea to executing it on that level. And there's so many places along that continuum where you go, but why would I do that? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Just what you're describing.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're
absolutely
talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like we've talked about this before. Maybe I've even told this story before, but like back when I was like 27, let's say, and I had 2 little kids, and I was trying to be an artist, trying to figure out what I wanted to be. And like I had done a lot of this photography work, and I really, really loved filmmaking, but I don't know. So I had, there was a point where I had a show, and the Center for Creative Photography, the curator was out of town, and she asked, hey, would you bring in all the pieces? And I was like, oh, what a pain in the ass. Like I had to park in the back, and this guard was like, you're not allowed to park here. You're not allowed to stand here. And I'm like, she wants me to bring in like to 11 pieces. What am I supposed to do? And he's like, well, just, you could easily be towed. And I was just like, what a fucking asshole. Anyway, so like, I was like pissed off. And then she called me and said, I want to buy one for the center. And I remember I walked into the kitchen, and I lay face down on the concrete, and my wife at the time said, what's wrong? And I said, I think I'm going to need like a world-class museum to buy one of my pieces every 2 or 3 days to feel like I'm worthy as a person. You know what I mean? Like, and she laughed and laughed, and I laughed too. I mean, I was just like, I felt like this weird, like, and then I heard Bono talk about, like, he's like, I have such low self-esteem that when 100,000 people at Wembley Stadium are clapping, I feel normal. I feel just normal, not like elated or like, and I kind of identified. So I went on this journey to disconnect from external affirmation. I felt like it was like a drug. It was like a heroin for me. And I feel like I'm at the point where I disconnected so well from it. You know what I mean? That I literally am like, my wife was like, why don't you play out sometime? And I'm like, who fucking cares? Like, no one cares.
Like, why?
Yeah, why?
I mean, I've always felt like that. So it's interesting. Like, I never even went through the external affirmation part. Like, because I've always had that same feeling. Like, okay, like, who cares? Like, why? What's the point of doing that? Like, what do I get? What do they get? They'll forget it 5 minutes later.
Right.
I will have spent all this work on it, but and my own, what would I have learned from it or achieved by it? Like, and I have that whole conversation with myself, and then I go,
Yeah. I've written like, let's say 30 songs or something, recorded them.
Yeah.
And the most important thing for me was to go through, like, basically, my therapist years ago said, you really do have a hard time processing grief.
Yeah.
And since you're able to do it through your songwriting, you should just keep doing that. Like, that's a great place for you to process grief. So like a friend would, like, their mom would die, and I would write her a song and give it to her. Like, I would say, hey, this is me thinking about you and hoping for, and so like in some ways they were like these little packages that were specifically for, if someone else would break up with their boyfriend or something, and I would say, here, listen to this song. It's about heartbreak, loss, things like that.
Right, and that's a
finding
beautiful
hope.
thing.
Yeah, and so for me, like, that was sort of the most.
That was the purpose of it.
That was the purpose of it. Yeah,
but like another person in your shoes, for those same things, coming from that same motivation, a different person would go, ooh, I should put those on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing these songs for other people. I bet I could get some attention for that and
Right.
clicks and
Yeah.
likes because I've seen lots of that too. Like when like that's a genre of content, like doing very personally sort of like personally tailored, heartfelt things for other people
Mm-hmm.
is a whole genre on social media, and
Yeah.
it gets huge likes, right? But like, there's something almost a little bit craven about the idea of like, I'm giving this to you because I know what you're going. I know you're going through something because your mom just died, and I'm giving this to you. That's a beautiful gesture, but there's something sort of like a little bit crass about like going, oh, I'm going to make money off that beautiful gesture to that. That's my one-to-one personal gift to that person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It
It's
feels
like
like
people,
you might get to a point where you feel like such a sellout that
yeah.
you sort of undermine your whole ability
And
to
I know
interact
that
with
they're
art
like
that way.
at the extreme end of that. There's like people that, you see these people on, TikTok or Instagram or whatever that are like, they'll pick up, they'll go to somebody who's just hustling to like, but they're doing something helping people, like they're feeding the homeless, right? Or whatever. They've set up like a table and they make meals for the homeless and they're out of their own pocket. And then, you know, I'm just repeating a genre, but it'll be like a TikTok where a guy goes up to that person and gets a meal from them and then starts a conversation and then reveals that, oh, I actually have a lot of money and I'm out here making content and looking for people who are generous. And because you're so generous, I'm going to give you, $1,000 right now or whatever. And
Mhm.
and they get huge likes and follows and whatever because of that. And that's what enables them to go out to the next person and give that person $1,000, right? Like,
It's just
it
Mr.
is so
Beast kind of
it
thing.
makes sense, like a Mr. Beast, exactly. It makes sense, and yet there's something kind of a little bit like if you're just at the beginning of that, it feels a little gross in a way. I don't know. It's just hard. It's such a weird territory to navigate.
I can't remember the name of this guy, but there was a guy when Instagram first came out
Yeah.
and it was a dumb name because it was called like Portraits of New York or New
Mm-hmm.
Yorkers on the Bench or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
He
know
has
what
a
I'm talking
book.
about?
It's
He's a book, yeah. I'm
and
sorry.
there were little snippets in the New York Times
Yeah,
too. It
yeah,
was
and he
called
interviewed something. But
shit. I
he
forget what it's
had
called, but
such
I
an
have the book.
enormous following. Is this the guy
Yeah.
that like he bought this guy a tractor in India who like his tractor was washed away in a flood or something? Remember, like,
Mm.
and he could just
Yeah.
say to his followers, like,
Yeah.
crowdfund
Yeah.
this guy's tractor, and it was like this sort of Mr. Beastie kind
And
of
that
thing
stuff's
where
awesome. Yeah.
it's really pay it forward, kind of crowdsource,
Totally.
empathy and
But if you're right
generosity.
at the beginning of that, if you're just you and you like make songs for people who are going through stuff, and that's a beautiful thing, like it's really hard to like I don't know, it's just really hard to imagine going, oh, I'm gonna make that my gimmick on TikTok and I'll get lots of likes and follows because of that. And so that I can keep doing it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's on the one hand, it's really cool. It's just hard. It's sort of that what's the point thing. It's like, anyway.
I mean, it's interesting because yeah. So back to this idea of like, so I guess the last time, so if I'm writing songs like to process my own grief, and I don't have any grief that reaches the threshold where
Mm.
I'm tipping over and can't handle it, so I write a song, right? It's like a low that we talk about
Yeah.
that
You mean right now in your life?
yeah, like my life is pretty, and
Even keel.
even keel. There's not a lot of giant, traumatic things happening.
Yeah.
And so I don't really feel the urge to jump in and write that kind of song where it takes me through that process,
Yeah.
I wish I did, but and I'm looking back like two and a half years ago or maybe 3 years ago now. I was traveling with this group in the Amazon, and then a group of men. It was like a men's group, and we went up into the mountains at the end, and those guys did a bunch of San Pedro. What's it called? The mescaline stuff. Where you boil the cactus until it's like a tea. Is it San Pedro? Anyway,
I think so.
yeah.
That sounds
so
right.
they did that, and I think I smoked a little bit of weed or something. I was kind of babysitting them because it was like really high altitude, and the sun was bright, and they were falling asleep in the cow pasture, you know, and I was like, ooh, this seems like someone's going to get like fried to a pulp, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, so we sat back down around in this circle, and everyone was kind of chilling out, and I started playing the guitar and I started singing my songs, and I was really moved, and I would get into each character, and I sang it in a way that like I've always been a little bit restrained, shall you say, like as a singer,
Just
like
holding back, a little
holding
self-conscious.
back, yeah, you know, just never like taking it right up to the edge where my voice would actually crack, for instance, you know, or like doing something odd with the melody at the top of, you know, sort of one of those runs. And I was doing that, and I felt like so in the flow, like really, really. And what was really funny is this dude who was a friend of mine on the trip, he had taken my GoPro, and he thought he was recording the entire thing. And he was moving it around like this, you know, and then at the very end, he went to turn it off, and he turned it back on, and he was like, "Oh,
I've done that with my phone, where it's like I think I'm recording, and I go to stop recording, and that's actually the start. I was like, "Oh fuck, it's so."
So he felt so bad, and I was like, "Dude, if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. Like we're up on this mountain, and everyone heard it, and I got to sing it, and it was in my body vibrationally. So I guess fuck it. Like I'm not gonna like." But it was really funny because he was like, you know, he was like, had the GoPro on like a selfie stick, and he was trying to make it all smooth.
Really investing in like the cinematography.
And then he went to turn it off, and he was like, it turned on like, bling, and he was like, oh shit.
Yeah. No, I'm laughing because I can totally relate to that. Yes. I'm sure you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, my point is that like, I think for a little bit, my wife looks at me and it's like, wow, if I had all the skills that you have, I would be doing so much more. I would do something with them.
Yeah. But at the other end of that, so like you're talking about sort of the inspiration side, like the urge, the motivation to create. At the other end, the other thing that sort of zaps my motivation sometimes is that like, so it's again back to these sort of TikTok guys and whatever, or creators of any level, like all the way up to, you know, feature films, writers, whatever. There's a part of me that goes, all right, so like here's a good example of just like not even being personal. So Sam Harris, who I used to follow and listen to quite a lot, like I really, really have a huge problem with his. This is a weird digression, but I'll come back to the main point. I have a huge problem with his sort of takes on Israel and Gaza. And he's just like an unapologetic Zionist who refuses to sort of see reality. And this is my way I think of Sam Harris on this topic, right? Like he's just one of these people that just refuses to see what's actually happening and just has sort of this ideological way of spinning it all without actually seeing it, right?
Yep.
And so I just like I can't listen to Sam Harris anymore. Like and then I was thinking to myself, like, oh, I'll miss the other, like sometimes he has guests on who I really appreciate. I'm like, oh, there's a neuroscientist on his show, or you know, an AI expert, or you know, whatever. Like he has lots of other people on his show for other reasons that have nothing to do with politics or you know, any of this. And arguably that's more of his content. But I was just like, he'll like riff on Israel sometimes at the beginning or whatever. And it's just, I just can't listen to it. It triggers me in a way. And I thought, oh, I'll miss this other stuff. But then I almost immediately had the thought of like, no, I can find all those same guests that he talks to. Like they go on other podcasts. Like I can, if I'm interested in that person's perspective and expertise on the topic, like I can go find that person. I don't need Sam Harris for that. Like, like Sam Harris is just one guy who has a podcast who interviews these people that I can find on other podcasts. And so like to bring that back to your original point, there's a part of me that goes, whatever I put out there is like, it just disappears into like there's somebody else that's doing something that's the same, but a little bit better. You know what I mean? There's just so much stuff out there. There's a part of me that just feels like that's sort of like, what's the point? Like, like, it exists, it will exist. That thing I create will exist alongside basically Remember that feeling in New York? Like no matter what weird thing you might do, you had this sense of like, oh, there's probably 100 other people doing this weird thing right now at this moment in this city.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like, that's what the world of content feels like to me. It's just like, no matter what I put out there, it's just going to be one more of the same thing that 1,000 other people are doing, a million other people have already done. It's not a novel thing. It's not, you know what I mean? So there's a part of me that says that too, that just like uses that to defeat myself and say, like, what's the point? Because it'll just be one more mediocre to okay to maybe it'll be great even out there. But like there's countless other great things that are just, it's like the shows on Netflix. It's like, why would I watch that show? You know what I mean? Or HBO, because there's like 2 billion shows on Netflix. So like if you're trying to decide what to watch, it's like, they all sort of blend together. It's like, why would I? Yeah. Like if you were the creator of that show, like why did they make that show? Who cares? Like that show even exists. You know what I mean? That's what I feel about things that I might create. It's like, who cares that, like, I project forward to it existing, that I've created it. And then I go to the, like, who cares that exists? Like, who cares that that's even in, it's like that random show on Netflix. Who cares that exists?
Yeah.
I don't care that exists.
Well, and there's also
it's a mediocre show on Netflix.
It feels
among
like
10,000 other mediocre shows on Netflix.
It feels like back when, and I'm not like sort of glorifying the 80s or something, but like back in like the 70s, in order to get a show made, it took a lot more work and effort, and there was a lot fewer shows being made. So like hopefully the cream rose to the top, and that's why we had like the $1 Million Man and stuff. I don't know. But
how do you get past, like, what's the process for getting past that? I mean, I guess there's like those people that just make stuff. Either they don't have that feeling at all, like they don't have that conversation with themselves that is asking, what's the point? They just never ask themselves that.
Yeah.
Or they get past that. They break through that somehow.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so I'm gonna tread into like sort of, it's what feels like dangerous territory because I'm talking about someone else's process, but I can't even remember her name. But there's a very young Japanese American actress who is also an animator, and she makes her own, and she always makes the character as like this little girl that looks like her. And so it's kind of scary, and it's hard. I'd have to look it up and put it in the show notes. But my point is that I saw her in an interview.
Yeah.
And she was saying how, what I came away with was that she's a model and an actress who knows that she gets money for being pretty. And she's curious about exploring as an artist narcissism and like so she's almost like creating this like loop of, an endless loop where she's examining that she wants to make a show about herself, an animated character who's her, and she wants to do it because she's examining like that she wants to do it. She wants to do it because she's famous and wants to be more famous. It's kind of, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? Just like it's
it makes sense. But like, to me, that makes sense. Like that's describing the urge to create, right? Like where does that urge to create coming from? You're describing what motivates her to create. And so there's a lot of things that motivate you to create and me to create. And like, I can sit here in my house and create stuff and solve that itch, right? Like I made it and I did a thing. I spent the time. It's like journaling, right? It's like, I'm motivated to write this thing or to sort of like play with this idea of a character that I have. Oh, my phone is ringing in the background. That's great. It's playing with this idea of a character that I have, and I play with it, and then I'm done, right? Like I play it out. So that's the urge to create. There's a second urge that is the urge to sort of like put that out there into the world to get an audience for it. That's the second one that I struggle with so much because that's where the what's the point comes in for me. It's like I made the thing, I scratched that itch, but like so the other part, like there's some people that are just purely motivated to get attention. They like the idea of attention on themselves and the spotlight on themselves and likes and follows and just an attention. And they'll pivot from genre to genre and idea to idea. Like you'll have somebody like Candace, what's her name? Candace Owens, right? Who was like a lefty creator and just got no traction as a leftist. And so she just was like, what if I just went full right wing? And she got an audience. And I was like, who knows what she even believes, right? Like that's an example of somebody who attention is the main driver. And so they don't even care what they're making as long as it gets attention. Like Jackass, right? Like, oh, I'll just like hurt myself to get attention because
right.
I'll put myself in dangerous situations to get attention. And it's not like I really have an interest in what it means to put yourself in danger or whatever. It's just like, oh, that's the thing. I tried all these things and that's the one that got an audience, right? Like, so that motivates some people to put their stuff out there is just pure attention. I don't relate to that at all. Like that, if anything, I want less attention, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's another one that's kind of a commercial motive. It's just like, you hear artists that just, or athletes or whatever, that it's just like, I worked hard at this because I wanted to get to a point where I could do it as my job and make money and basically have a job doing something I loved. And so like, there's a commercial motivation to be like, I relate to that one a lot more. It's just like, all right, the reason to work hard at this thing and put it out there and not just scratch the itch in a private way. The reason to put it out there is to make money off of it so that I could do it for a living. Mm-hmm. And I don't particularly like the attention, but I like the idea of being able to do this for my living.
Yeah.
I relate to that. But there's so much there's so much resistance and personal resistance to the things that it takes to get there. And one of them being attention. You remember my video that went viral? Like, I had no interest in following that up with other videos because I was just like, I almost didn't like the attention.
Right. Like, didn't your wife's cousin was like, hey, I saw Sean on.
Yeah. And it felt like, I didn't like it. It felt, I don't know why. I don't know what it was. Like I'd have to spend some time really introspecting to figure out like why that felt bad to me. But yeah, anyway.
I mean, you could be like Banksy. Like Banksy doesn't, that he was like some Welsh dude, like some, 50-year-old Welsh dude.
Whoever he is, yeah.
Well, I think they found
do we
him.
know who he is?
Yeah, we know who he is, yeah.
Because over the years, there's always been like, we found Banksy and it never turned out to be true. But you think they found him this time?
We could go back and check, but yeah, I think that there's like 15 different data points that show it's him. And he's just this like nice Welsh dude. He's like kind of, middle of the road dude. Anyway, or what was the Gorillas? Was that band that was like all cartoons? Remember those guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it would be really fun to be like if you and I were in a band where we just didn't want to be on stage, but we could be like cartoon characters or something. Because even when I write a song, I'll often, if I'm talking about the lyrics or the character in the song, I'll say he got on the boxcar. Mm-hmm. He's the one. Like that's
like the Paul Simon way. Like all his songs were about a character, never about. Like they were never expressing him.
Sometimes it's me pretending like if I was that character.
Yeah.
Or sort of fantasizing that like I was a hobo who's traveling across the country, and that's was a way for me to explore like just not being grounded or in a sense of home.
Yeah. Anyway, or like you would talk about you would frame like sort of a love song in terms of a third. Like a different couple, like he and she. And,
or yeah.
And
they, it's true.
Rather than we,
That's true. Hey, would you be down to, because we recorded 2 songs together in New York. Mm-hmm. And we already did the Magnet Train, what was it called?
Shuffling Feet.
Feet. Would you be mind doing the other one next time?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
let's do it because I now know a way. If I put it on the browser tab on the screen, on the other screen, I can hit play and we can listen. So it's that one where he goes, so give me a box, hand will fall flat and now. Coming through the wheat. You remember that one? So I Took
Yeah.
off my shoes and I took off my. I think I
Yeah.
titled it "Jesus Along the Fence," which I loved that phrase.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm not really sure like why.
You just like that phrase.
I do, but it's like, and my wife teases me so much about. She said you should become a Christian singer. She like, you could just pull it off, and I was like, I don't know that I could like hang out with like.
Oh man, my son just went to a Catholic youth retreat.
Oh yeah,
like his godmother, his cousin, his like close cousin, BFF cousin, their family, my wife's sister's family, very Catholic. Like they're the people that when we're on vacation, we go on vacation with them sometimes. Like we could be anywhere.
They go to mass
on vacation, and they're going to find the mass to go to on if we're happen to be on vacation on a Sunday, right? Like
dedicated,
they don't miss mass, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Even on vacation. So to me, that's like the that's the definition of being hardcore Catholic.
Do they do like
right?
Lent?
Like I could think of other things. Oh yeah, they all do that.
Fat
but
Tuesday and,
my wife does that too. But anyway, my son went on a youth retreat with his cousin and down in Southern California. And did you ever go on any of the church retreats like Laurel back in the day?
No, I did not. Yeah,
it's intense, right? Yeah. Like you come away from those, like you're singing songs, right? You're with your friends. Like it's very bonding and it's very emotionally intense. And I mean, it's easy to imagine coming away from that going like, oh, the church, like that is the thing, right? Like we're
talking like Laurel
like,
and Maple.
I might even become a priest, right? Like you know what I mean? To come
out
of those
camps Laurel near Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Laurel.
And Maple was up in Toronto or like north of
Maple,
Toronto.
Yeah, I forget where Maple was, but
you would go to Laurel.
Laurel, yeah. A couple times I went.
I would hear about it when I was in middle school, and I would be a little bit jealous that I didn't, because it sounded really
so
fun.
Anyway, my son had that kind of experience. Like he went down there, and he doesn't. He's one of those teenagers, like you'd say, well, like how was the thing? Like, oh, it was fine, right? He had like one word responses when you try to ask him about something he did. With this one, it was the same. Like, oh, what'd you guys do? Oh, nothing, right? But then, once you're quiet for a bit, he starts talking about it. And then for days, it was like, oh, there were some banger songs, like we learned some bangers, or whatever. And then like, oh, I definitely want to go back next year, right? Like for days and days, he was talking about all the things that just
cool.
got him all hyped up from this. But it is funny because I like, oh shit, I don't want my son to become like a Catholic priest or something.
There's some pretty nice Catholic priests and cool.
No, there are. I just, it's the atheist in me that's a little bit like having a bit of a reaction.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But I totally relate to. I remember Laurel and having those feelings like, oh damn, like this is the shit. Like the church, that's where it's at.
Yeah, very tribal, and like you feel like you're part of something. And what freaks me out though is that like I did that and I like bought into it so deeply.
I mean, I think that's probably what Trump rallies in MAGA is all about too. It's like you're with a group of people that are sort of like aligned on beliefs.
Yeah.
In an intense experience together, right? Like that is an incredibly powerful thing, right? Like we've been there.
I remember I think I told you the story about how I was so like so bought into, like they gave us that blue book in high school about how to, and there was a pink one for women, and like you weren't supposed to hold hands, and if you had sex before marriage, you would like destroy your chance to have
you would instantly vaporize.
You destroy your chance to have like a lifelong spiritual, like an eternal spiritual partner. Right, and I just idealized this thing so much. I was like, I will not screw this up. I'm not going to screw this up. And I remember like making out with my first real girlfriend. And then being like, I think we need to read Conjugal Love and then pray.
I remember my first girlfriend, like we would make out and, we might make it to even third base. And then she would be crying afterwards for like a couple hours. And I had to console her, right? Because we had like violated the,
the rules or broken the rules, which there was ramifications. Like Swedenborg would be like, if you do this, the implication was, like it's not like
I don't
you'll
even know if
burn in.
Swedenborg said that, if to be honest.
It's true.
Like,
It's
I
true.
don't know how
And
much of
that's
it, like, I'd have to go back to the original sources, but like, it could have been like,
yeah. I think they made it up. Like they kind of derived it from.
I don't know how much was made up and how much was in the original sources,
Yeah.
but
Swedenborg definitely didn't say that at school dances that you had to have 6 inches
6-inch
between.
rule, yeah.
He didn't have, like, I'm sure he
Yeah.
didn't write that, and he didn't.
No.
He didn't even have a girlfriend, so like it was like,
No.
how did he, know about that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Or a partner. But yeah, no, that's funny. So, but it's funny to hear your son at the camp, and I think back on when I was switching from like 10th grade to 11th grade when I went over from the public school to, I asked my parents, can I go back to the parochial school where you were? That's where I met you that first day in typing class. And I remember being like, one of the reasons I wanted to go is to have religion classes, and
Yeah.
I never thought, people used to tease us and say that I'm an Odener, that every Odener has an existential crisis where they ask themselves if they need to become a minister.
Yeah, I had that. I asked myself that question at one point. Yeah, I don't think
I did.
Because I don't know, it was a mix of different things. Part of it was just like feeling the sincere belief, right? Like feeling like I believe things on a sincere and deep level. That was number one. But then this sort of the flip side was just feeling like, hey, these guys who are preaching at us, they're hypocrites in certain ways that I could identify, and they are failing in certain ways that where I felt like I could do better than that guy, that priest. So like I should, since I believe this stuff so deeply,
you could step up and really carry it forward.
I could probably, like I wouldn't be a hypocrite about it. And, I wouldn't be as sort of incompetent as that guy who may or may not be a true believer, but he sucks at preaching. You know what I mean? Because remember, like Jonathan Rose, like he would get up and tell spin these yarns, and people would be like enwrapped by his stories and the way he could preach. And it was like, it's like, oh, like I could be sort of like that kind of guy, and
yeah,
I could do this well, and I'm a deep believer.
Yeah, I feel like my dad became a minister when I was in my teens. He had like a midlife crisis, and
I remember that. Yeah.
And he told us, like, he sat us all down, and I was like 14, and he was like, well, I'm going to become a minister. And I was like, oh, Dad, I don't think I never really saw you like read the writings, or like, my uncle used to be like a lay person, who would read do a sermon. Yeah. And I was like, so anyway, that's another story. But he really wanted to do this, and he did. He went to the Masters of Divinity program. But I remember thinking, he would ask me, don't you want to be a minister? And I said, being a yoga teacher is the closest thing I'll ever get.
Yeah.
When I walk someone through a philosophy that kind of gives them, I don't know, some kind of structural.
Yeah.
And
well, you can as a yoga teacher, you can certainly sort of like develop and cultivate that side of being a yoga teacher, for sure. Like if you had urges to be a preacher,
it felt like
it felt like
you
can really go all in on that part of being a yoga teacher versus like just the exercise side of it. Yeah.
And I took it as a responsibility or a task to, what was his name? Who said, it's your job as an artist is to deepen the mystery. Not Blake, but and I thought, like, well, my job is to like ask people to start to self-reflect and ask questions about their patterning, and then to like deepen the mystery, like just to sort of give them a
and you came. I mean, you had so like your position as a yoga teacher, like you had grown up Christian, and then you were, as a yoga teacher, you're immersed in a different religion, essentially, right? Like and that's what you're learning about. And so like one of the things I imagine that you would internalize from that some people go from one set of beliefs to another. Other people, when they're in a deep set of beliefs and then they are introduced to another deep set of beliefs, the thing they end up with is sort of this, they rise above it and go, hey, there's all of these beliefs. What are the sort of the things that tie them together?
Yes. Yeah.
And then you're like, then it becomes harder to become a member of any particular
Right.
religion, because you kind of have already experienced this, like, oh, that one has value and that one has value, and there's truth there and there's truth there. And obviously those priests who think they know it all, they're just deluded, because there's just as much truth over here in this Hindu culture, Hindu tradition, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you go, all right, well, I'm an atheist, because I can't believe in that one and I can't believe in that one, but I believe in some set of, I can identify and embrace some set of truths that they seem to have in common, or that they are both
Mhm.
pointing to, and these other ones are pointing to, and these other ones are pointing to. And there do seem to be some universal truths and human values and things like that. But then you're a secular humanist and
Yeah.
not.
And I would say this, like I remember I was a fan of Karl Marx when I
Mm-hmm,
was like 15 or something. And I
mm-hmm,
remember being a little bit offended and rubbing against the religion is the opium of the people.
mm,
And as I grew older and leaned more toward agnosticism, or as we say, atheism, I would say that it was less of like an opium. I think
mm-hmm,
people, especially with Swedenborg, they were drawn to like a structural, like a kind of a demystification of how the world works and why you're here, kind of the
mm-hmm,
purpose of life, right?
mm-hmm,
And that and I had gone through this journey where I, looked at like this ancient 5,000-year-old Kashmir Shavist tantra that said, that we're just, each of us are just a node
mm-hmm,
on the omnipotent, sort of all-knowing thing,
mm-hmm,
and the one thing that it doesn't know is how to be finite, mortal, and alone. And so that's why we exist, so that we can
mm-hmm,
report back to this
mm-hmm.
Godhead. Like that's what it is. And so, and I was like, even that, like, it's comforting. It's
Yeah.
You're drawn to it because it's comforting, and it tells a story that you can be like, you can sort of almost rest in
Yeah.
knowing that, right? And
It
so it's
resonates in a certain way that feels truthful, or has, like, it makes sense and it resonates intuitively.
and it
And
comforts
and it's
that.
and so that's maybe is a different way of saying it's comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like
Like,
so.
it
So
feels good.
I almost
Yeah.
push back on the word opium just because it makes it
Mm-hmm.
sound like people are walking around high, like totally out of their minds, when really they're drawn to it because there's a structure that they can say, well, this is how Swedenborg's decoding this mysterious Bible,
Mm-hmm.
the Old Testament and the New Testament. And he's sort of telling what the symbols mean. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so rational. Like it makes a lot of sense. Like the children of
Mm-hmm.
Israel in the desert for 40 years, that's you.
Mm-hmm.
And then to grow spiritually, you have to kind of cross this threshold and
Mm-hmm.
be willing to give everything up. And, like it sounded like, that's kind of a cool story, like,
Mm-hmm.
and like one of the things Jonathan Rose did, which
Yeah, you go, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, that makes
Jonathan
sense.
Rose
And yeah,
did
go ahead.
something where he, as a translator, like of
Mm-hmm.
ancient Greek and Latin and Hebrew, is he
Mm-hmm.
would sort of drill through the anachronistic, white British King James Version translation
Mm-hmm.
to read what the Hebrew word was or the Greek word was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then he would kind of decode it and show how
Yeah.
it's not, like eye for an eye, for tooth was not,
Yeah.
if you take my eye out, I get to take yours out. It was, I'm supposed to fucking help you bring in the crops.
Yeah. I'll be your eye.
And
Yeah.
and the most you could ever do is take out their eye, but that's a waste of everyone's
Right.
ability,
No,
so.
it's just interesting that you, like, I hear this story a lot. So, like, I have followed over the years the sort of the deconstruction genre, right? Like people that are leaving evangelical churches primarily, right?
Oh yeah,
And
sure.
and they call it deconstruction, or whether ex-evangelical. Um, but it's interesting to me how many of those stories, or like the origin story of a person's deconstruction, deciding to leave the church.
Mhm.
It's interesting how often there's a couple of really common triggers for somebody, origin stories for somebody deciding to leave their church. There's obviously things like abuse and stuff. Like women will leave because they are being abused in one or another way by their church, or held down or held back, or like constrained in some way that's like borderline abusive, if not fully abusive. But with men, there are two things. One is like just getting out in the world and meeting people who they've been told are evil, sinners, whatever. So like meeting gay people, meeting leftists and Democrats, right? Like, but
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh, these people aren't the devil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sort of then that triggers a bunch of questions, like what else have I been taught that was wrong, right? But another one that you kind of pointed to with Jonathan, a lot of these guys, like the thing that gets them to leave the church is really counterintuitively deciding they're so interested in God and the church and the Bible that they start studying the Bible. Like they're like, I am so into my church, I'm going to go to, Bible school. I'm going to learn Greek, Latin, or not Latin, Greek, Hebrew, and I'm going to learn about how the Bible came, the history of the Bible, whatever. And then they immediately start seeing all these internal contradictions in the Bible that they weren't really aware of before. They start seeing translation, sort of quirks of translation, idiosyncrasies of different translations. And then it just counterintuitively, like they go, oh shit, like all of the stuff I was believing is actually way weirder and fuzzier and more internally contradicting than I ever imagined. And now I have this crisis of belief. I don't believe any of it anymore.
Right.
Like
right,
it's just a book that was written by some people over, hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's super interesting to see that is a trigger because we don't have that in our church. Like Jonathan Rose never had any pressure from there were no forces telling him that the Bible was the literal truth written by God.
In fact,
right?
the opposite.
But if you grew up believing the Bible was the literal truth written by God and the world is 6,000 years old and like you follow everything that's written in the Bible because it's the literal word of God. And then like you can really easily imagine somebody like that just like within a few weeks of just digging into the Bible, looking at it more carefully, suddenly going, oh shit, like, having it turn into a crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
But it's interesting. Like a lot of, there's some really interesting statistic that I saw at one point was just about the number of evangelical and like Baptists and other evangelical fundamentalist Christian priests who are secret atheists. Huh. And it's like there's like forums on Reddit and stuff for these guys, mostly guys, but women too, to talk to each other, just because they're experiencing internal crisis because they have a job. They're a pastor at a church, but they don't believe any of it anymore. And all their friends are believers, their families are believers, and so they're trapped in a way in this. Like I'm a secret atheist, but I don't want to abandon my entire life. So what do I do?
Wow, that's
because they're afraid to come out because they would be fired. They would have to leave their job. Their community would reject them anymore, right?
Yeah, like whole thing. Yeah,
like it's an interesting thing. So there's some interesting like Reddit forums and subreddits and other like internet forums and stuff that are basically, priests who are secret atheists.
I was hoping for a soft landing for a lot of MAGAs. Like for instance, like when I hear Sean Ryan, back to like Sean Ryan starting to like curse and be like, he lied to us about the gas prices and the wars in the Middle East. Like, what the fuck? And like the billionaires, like he's starting to say that. And you hear Joe Rogan say that. And Joe Rogan, like 2 days ago said, he
like shredded JD Vance for a couple hours. I saw some clips of that.
And then he has this quote where he's just like, I mean, we should have universal health care. This is the dumbest thing. Like the next like 100 countries have it. And what the fuck? What why don't we have no one should go bankrupt.
It's so exasperating on the one hand, but it's like encouraging on the other hand. It's like hard to find. I have such a split reaction to it because this is like, fuck, this was so obvious for like you put us all through this.
I know, yeah.
So that you could eventually have this epiphany. Like, fuck off, fuck you.
I know. And I think that's valid too. For those of us who
like,
were
I have both
trying
those
to
things,
point to it.
So I don't have a lot of patience for the people who are like, we'll never forgive them.
Yeah.
Like I don't want. That's not productive. On the other hand, I get it. Like I get that feeling. Like we'll never forgive them. I understand where it's coming from. I
wanted to go back to your Sam Harris sort of example, and for me, that person was Bill Maher. Like I started my kids and my wife stopped listening to him because he was just a dick, right? And he was really mean about
just
trans.
Smug, condescending.
But and here's my example of where it started for me was I kept listening, but he would say rude things about, there's more trans people because it's popular. So like people are
Yeah.
getting this, but then I would be like, you're talking about it and you're ignoring the fact that like suicide and murder and people, like all these horrible things.
Yeah.
And by downplaying it and making it seem like it's silly, you're basically
Well, and it's so
supporting.
ignorant. It's just like all you would need to do, Bill Maher, is spend like a couple hours with some families that have like gone through having a trans kid and had all those same like every parent who, not every, but many parents who have a trans kid went through all the same feelings that Bill Maher's expressing. Like, you're just doing this because it's popular. This a phase. Like it's weird. I don't know what to call you. Like parents go through that, and it's real, and it's worth acknowledging. And so parents then come out. Many parents have gone through that and come out the other side of it, and been like, I love my kid no matter what. Like, Like I raised a son, and now I have a daughter, and it was hard to go through that, but I landed on the other side of it, right? Like, we shouldn't acknowledge that it's easy or that it's natural. Like it's, like it's hard for parents, and it's fucking weird.
And the root cause
for many parents, and we make mistakes and whatever. Like
totally,
all of that's okay. And so, like, if Bill Maher just spent an hour with some of those parents, he, like you feel like he wouldn't talk that way.
And that's the root cause of my sort of breakup with him. And it really broke up over Israel because he's the same about Israel and democratic socialists. He can't stand them. And I'm like, so my thing is that he carries this flag around like, I'm the brave one who's willing to talk to anyone about anything.
Yeah.
But what he doesn't do is bring in someone who went through
dishonest
that
about any of his arguments, and he doesn't address the actual reality of any of those things.
And he
just
doesn't
has
say,
his own script that he follows.
I've never been married and I've never had a kid, so what the fuck do I know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, what do I know about a 14-year-old kid who comes to you, their parents, and says,
and he might say that, but he doesn't make any effort to break through that.
Yeah. And he did the same thing with Israel, where he acts like he just ignores the fact that a foreign country is committing a genocide in Palestine. And then he just focuses on the fact that, like, you should have the right to defend yourself.
They just have certain talking points that they stick to, and they never, ever acknowledge. Yeah, like Sam Harris wrote a piece that was like, why I will never debate Israel, Gaza, or whatever, or why I'll never debate somebody who's pro-Palestine, or what, I forget how the title of it, but he wrote a piece that was like, why I'll never debate this issue. And even the title of that piece is so revealing. It's like,
why I will never debate.
It's like, if you're approaching it as a debate, it means you are rigid in your beliefs about the thing. You are unwilling to learn anything new or understand. You're not curious or interested in the truth. You've already decided what the truth is. And so the only way you're able to approach that subject is as a debate, not as a deliberation or a conversation or an inquiry. There's many other ways to approach a subject that aren't debate. If you're going to approach something as a debate, you already have decided what the truth is, and you are certain and rigid about it. And that, to me, that's Bill Maher too. It's like, that's the thing that drives me nuts. It's like, here's a guy who, and Sam Harris is exactly the same. Here's a guy who claims to be open-minded and objective and interested in objective truths and interested in learning and will talk about the value of learning and curiosity and having an open mind. And then they are so, they behave in the complete opposite way about a couple of these subjects. They refuse to have anything resembling an open mind about it.
Right. Like that, Bill Maher has 3 giant blind spots from my perspective that he's unwilling to, he just is absolutely unwilling to self-reflect and look at them at all. He doesn't want to. And for instance, have you seen
Sam Harris has the exact same 3 blind spots that you're referring to. Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly
and so
the same.
I've been interested. I've been watching, for instance, I think 2 very, very interesting voices, Mamdani and Dr. Abdul Said.
Yeah.
And I was listening to him talk about Israel, and the reporter said, "Hey, why are you so against Israel?" And he goes, "I'm not against Jews. I'm against giving money to a foreign country that's committing genocide." And he goes,
"They both do a really good job of like rejecting the framing of the question and taking it to a framing that is better and more honest." Yeah.
And Dr. Abdul Said said, I'm Egyptian American. My parents came from Egypt. America gives tax dollars to the dictator in Egypt who captures Muslims and throws them in jail and tortures them. I don't agree with that either. Like, I don't support us giving money to Egypt, and I'm Egyptian. So like that's totally, and I find it, that's those voices where they're willing to actually speak up and say, I almost wish the Sam Harrises and the Bill Mayers of the world, and some of my, even classmates from online from high school, I feel like it would make more sense to me if they would be willing to say, it's such an emotional issue. I have so much tied up in it, so tangled up in emotion that I can't really be rational about it. I'm sorry. That
would be honest. Really, that would be self-reflective and self-aware and honest, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that they aren't is honest.
Right.
Right. Honesty requires a certain amount of curiosity and open-mindedness.
And we could say, let's pray that that we don't come to a place where our blind spots are that we're so blind to our blind spots that we'll just walk forward through life and never notice them.
That's a great point. And it's worth sort of like, the nature of a blind spot is you don't know it's a blind spot, right? But like, when you look at somebody like a Sam Harris or a Bill Maher and you see their blind spots, it's worth having that self-reflection of like being aware that, hey, I am certain that I have some blind spots. And I'm willing to be educated on what those might be, because I can't see them because they're blind spots, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And I have a sense of what some of mine might be. I'm somewhat rigid about certain very leftist beliefs, right?
Right, totally.
But yeah. Anyway.
I think we're at a good spot.
We're at a good stopping point,
spot. Yeah. But yeah, Satellite Haiku, such a joy for me to reconnect with you once a week, and let's keep this going. I really like it, and I love the discourse too.
I agree. Can I end with a not a first world problem, but a pet peeve? Like,
sure,
this is my other category.
Yeah,
a non-serious pet peeve. My pet peeve is when people are asked to rate things on a 1 to 10, and they'll be like, "It's an 8.5 or an 8.7." I'm like, you've just turned a 1 to 10 scale into a 1 to 100 scale.
Yes.
Like, you didn't get asked to rate things on a percentage. Because if you're saying 8.5, that's 87 out of 100.
Yeah.
It's no longer a 1 to 10 scale.
No, that's a good point. It never occurred to me, but you're right.
It bothers me on some. That's a weird little pet peeve. So that's my harmless pet peeve.
It's valid. And now that you've brought it up to me, I think I might have done that.
It's like a weird obsessive compulsive, like,
ADHD,
it's like
you feel weird. It's not quite ready, that it's not quite as low as a 7, but it really doesn't deserve to be a 9.
Then it's a 100 scale. Like, just embrace the fact that you're doing percentile.
85%. That's okay. That's a fair thing. That's absolutely fair.
Like, I have no problem with a percentile scale. Just don't pretend a 1 to 10 scale. Just don't turn it into that and call it 1 to 10.
I have a pet peeve that, so in Spanish, if you want to turn left in the car, you say a la izquierda. If you want to go right, you say a la derecha. If you want to go straight, you say derecho. It has one letter. It's like a derecho, derecha. And I'm like, so to my wife, I'm like, the fact is, it's such a huge difference if you're going to tell someone to turn right or go straight. Why not make it a completely different word that you couldn't mishear?
True, you couldn't possibly mishear, because in a car with the road noise
I've misheard the word, and she's been kind of annoyed at me, and I'm like, it's one fucking letter at the end of a sentence.
We're old now. Like, we can't.
I was like, just come up with
all these old people turning right when they're supposed to be going straight.
Say like steal it from English and say like straighto, el straighto. Right. That's my pet peeve. Right there.
Good pet peeve. All right, my brother.
It is. Okay. Lots of love.
Right, take care.
Bye. Bye.
Satellites? A satellite represents a journey, information gathering, this journey around the Earth.